The road is long without you, but I see the better of you. Have to be sharp without you, but it's all worth it for the view. The road is long without you, but I see the better of you. Have to be sharp without you, but it's all worth it for the view. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream. Where your small mind can dream. Nighttime, another dreamboat, walking through the red smoke, chasing a dream, watching the shadows chase me. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream. Where your small mind can dream. Darkness, another rock fall. Thoughtless, though I dream it all. Chasing a dream, watching the shadows chase me. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream. Where your small mind can dream. The road is long without you, but I see the better of you. Have to be sharp without you, but it's all worth it for the view. The road is long without you, but I see the better of you. Have to be sharp without you, but it's all worth it for the view. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream. Where your small mind can dream. Nighttime, another dreamboat, walking through the red smoke, chasing a dream, shadows chase me. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream, where your small mind can dream. Darkness, another rock fall, thoughtless, though I dream it all, chasing a dream, watching the shadows chase me. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream, where your small mind can dream. I notice that without you, that I see the better of you. Have to be sharp without you, but it's all worth it for the view. The road is long without you, but I see the better of you. Have to be sharp without you, but it's all worth it for the view. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream, where your small mind can dream. Nighttime, another dreamboat, walking through the red smoke, chasing a dream, watching the shadows chase me. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream, where your small mind can dream. Darkness, another rock fall, thoughtless, though I dream it all, chasing a dream, watching the shadows chase me. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, chasing a dream, watching the shadows chase me. I wanna take the road less traveled. I wanna go places unseen. I wanna spread my wings, fly out of here, where your small mind can dream, where your small mind can dream. Okay, hello. Good afternoon. My name is Alana Lindgren. I'm the acting dean in the Faculty of Fine Arts, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you here in the auditorium, but also those who are joining us virtually online, to the very first event of the new President's Game Changer Speaker Series, an opportunity for us to gather and celebrate the amazing research and creative work that defines the faculty, I was going to say the Faculty of Fine Arts. It does definitely define the Faculty of Fine Arts, but more importantly, it defines the University of Victoria. To begin, I would like to acknowledge and respect the Lekwungen peoples on whose traditional territory the University of Victoria stands, and the Songhees, Esquimalt, and Wasanich peoples, whose historical relationships with the land continue to this day. And I would be completely remiss, though I think my last comment maybe will help me, but I can't go back to the faculty without doing a shout out to the artists behind the amazing music that you were listening to before we began today. The song was The Road Less Traveled by Sonia Skegestad, performed by Sonia, Steve Berg, and engineered by Lindsay Gilroy. And I'm very proud of our students in the School of Music. In addition to great music, of course, we have a great speaker this afternoon. You are definitely in for a treat, and we are starting this series on a very strong note. The speaker today is Dr. Mina Hoorfar, the Dean of Engineering and the Computer Science. Mina just started her position here at UVic, and I've had a little bit of an opportunity to get to know her better, and I'm sure you will very quickly agree with me that she is an impressive and very energetic new voice to the University of Victoria. So I don't want to take up too much time because we want as much time for Mina as possible, but I do have a few housekeeping notes to go over with you first. First, please be aware that we are recording today's event for those colleagues who are unable to join us. If you're here in the auditorium, thank you for being here. And please remember to leave your mask on while you're here. We're also very fortunate to offer live captioning for those who are joining online. And our captionist today is Marion. If you would like to access this service, click the live transcript icon at the bottom of your screen. And on stage with me is Tanya from Island Deaf and Hard of Hearing Center, who will be providing the sign language translation for us. So thank you very much to Tanya and Marion for making this event more accessible. I know that you're really going to have a lot of questions for Mina. Very interesting speaker, as I said. And so there's a couple ways that you can do so. We are having a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, but in the meantime, you can ask questions throughout using Slido. And so you can access Slido going to the website, which is slido.com, slido.com, or you can hold your phone up to the screen, to the QR code on the screen, and that will take you to the Slido website. You will be prompted to enter a password. That password is UVic, all lowercase letters.
once you're in, you can go to the Q&A tab and write your question in. If it's very much like a question that's already been asked, you don't need to retype your question, just upvote the existing question. Similarly, if there's another question you really like and you'd like us to prioritize, please upvote that question as well. And if you're here in the auditorium, please don't ask questions during the presentation, but during the Q&A session, just raise your hand, and some of the people here have microphones and they'll come right over to you, and you'll be able to ask your question that way. Finally, if you are having technical difficulties and you're online, use the Zoom chat function, type in your question, of course, unless you can't get on the internet. Type in your question, and the chat is being moderated by event organizers, and they'll be able to hopefully help you with whatever technical issue that you're experiencing. And now, without further ado, and here to introduce Dr. Harfour, please give a very warm welcome to the President of the University of Victoria, Kevin Hall.
Well, thanks so much, Alana, and wow, applause. It's the first live audience I've been in front of 10 months. So welcome everybody to the first event in the President's Game Changer series, and we certainly have a game changer tonight. I wanted to start by thanking Alana for acknowledging land and language. It's really important we do that. And I also would like to point out we are on the land of the Lekwungen peoples, and pay my respects to the Wasanich, the Esquimalt, and Songhees people, and pay my respects to elders past and present. And I hope we all pledge to work together to really decolonize our institution in a meaningful way for our local Indigenous populations. And also to work with the framework of UNDRIP and really work towards self-determination for our local Indigenous communities as well. It's important we all get behind this as a university. It's important we all do our own work in learning the truth of the lands that we sit on. Thanks to everybody that's come here in person, and also thanks to all of you online. I think this is going to be a really exciting series. We built this series with the intent of showcasing, I guess if you like, our really dynamic academics and leaders that come to us on campus. It's got two purposes, one for all of us on campus to appreciate what we're bringing in terms of our new academic leaders and staff, but also to get out into the community and let the community know what we do at the university. And so it's really got two purposes. And I think tonight is going to be a great experience for all of us here. And so with that, I'm going to introduce tonight's first game changer. So Dr. Mina Hoorfar, as you know, is just joined us about 3 months ago from the University of British Columbia, Okanagan, where she was the Associate Dean in the engineering faculty, and is now the new Dean and Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and Science. And certainly we're excited to have Mina on our campus. 15 years at UBC Okanagan, I believe, and hopefully much more than 15 years at UVic, right? Mina does her work in fluidics, microfluidics, and thermal fluidics, and it's nice to actually introduce somebody that I understand what you do. So it's not often I can say that at a university, and she's created an absolute fantastic career in microfluidics, not only as an exceptional teacher, winning awards across her classes, but also as a researcher working not only within the academic community, but also with business and industry, and being an advisor to government. Some of the awards Mina has won include the Canadian Society for Mechanical Engineers Emerging Technologies Medal in 2021, the BC Business, BC's Most Influential Women 2018, President's Teaching Award of Excellence from the Engineers and Geoscientists of BC in 2017, and UBC's Researcher of the Year in 2016. So incredible accomplishments, and congratulations, Mina. And she's also a very trusted mentor to her students, and this is something that you hear when you get to talk to students now at the university, of how in 3 months she's made a significant impression on her ability to be a role model, to be a mentor, to be a sponsor. So Mina, we're really lucky to have you at the University of Victoria, and welcome as the inaugural speaker in the Game Changer series.
Hey, thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate the introduction. Thank you so much, Alana. Thank you, all of you, to come here and those who are connected virtually. Kevin, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Being the first one in this series actually has advantage that, so, you can do it the way that you want, but also creates lots of, fear that what am I going to say? But thanks to make it so flexible. When the first time I've heard about the name of the series, I think originally was Make Changers, and then changed to the Game Changers. I said, this is not me. Why you're thinking of me? And a good friend can actually send me an article every weekend he sends, and it defined the make changer, a person who finds a problem and never stops till solve it. And I was just listening to the podcast about Thomas Edison, that somebody said, how does his brain work? And another person says, he looks for a needle in a haystack. And then the other person said, how does he know there is a needle in the stack? He said, like us, he doesn't know, but he never stops and he looks till he finds it. So I'm none of those. So I'm not the person who had game changer role or change maker. So that's why when I thought about making this talk or presentation, I thought the only way I can talk about is making about my journey. So if you're here to, hear some wise words and some lessons, I really apologize. This is just the only way you're going to hear my life story. I can assure you, you will be entertained for the next 20 some minutes. And some of the events I'm going to share with you, maybe you can relate to them as well. My path of life, this is how I show it. I'm learning actually emojis. And my son, he's 13 years old, and say, you're doing all wrong, but doesn't matter. I just put anywhere, on any kind of shape I want. When I was a kid, I remember I used to lie on bed and imagine, okay, what is my life look like? And I always imagine a forest. Some parts of the forest, they are very dense with trees. And I thought that those are the times that I'm successful. And some parts of the forest, they're bare, and say, okay, those are the times that I'm not doing well. A person who's very dear to me said, you think that these are your big bonfire and milestones or achievements or game changers in your life. But in fact, none of them are. The small steps or choices that you make till you get there, those are the game changers. So I've been, or I am a still learner. I am an educator and researcher. I had the role of a manager at the School of Engineering, UVic, and I hope to be a leader at this faculty. And I've been lost many times and got drifted from the path, and you will see. But all of them, I think they share the same thing. If they are the game changers in my life because of the choices that I had. A friend, a colleague today made a statement that I really liked it and I wanted to use it. He said, talents are widespread across the world, but opportunities are not. So for me, the biggest drive for me to have game changers or choices have been opportunities. My mother's voice. When I was 5 years old and she dropped me to school, she said, one thing I want you to remember, never miss an opportunity. You never know when is the next big thing comes. And it's still that I remember as a 5-year-old, so scared to go to the world and learn something. And I still remember opportunity, never miss an opportunity. So opportunities, they were always the drive for me. And as a result, I got to the situations that I had to make many different choices. And as an engineer, we like to put things in bins. We want to categorize them. And that's how my engineering brain comes into. So when I was thinking about this presentation, I said, all the events, all the choices I made that came to be game changers, how I can bin them, how I can categorize them. And then I got to these 4 categories. Some of them might, you relate to them. There were situations in my life that I got into it with little choice. They were made for me. I know it's ironic because choice means you make them. But there were situations that I got stuck there and I didn't know what to do. So I called them little choice. There were situations that I did horrible, bad, wrong choices. And there were situations that, oh gosh, I had butterflies in my stomach, like now, talking actually in front of the audience. So those are scary choices. And then, of course, the glorious choices that, once in a while in your lifetime comes, those are desirable choices that it seems that it comes out of blue and you're so lucky to have them. But believe me, you work your whole life to get there. When I was thinking, I say, okay, the drive for all of them are opportunities. But even when I didn't know that, all of them that were made with something as an impact in my brain. So all of these choices that they led to being game changers or whatever, they all had impacts on me and also people around me, like butterfly, like ripple effect. So I like to talk about each one and give examples, and hopefully that will relate to what you're going in your life. So about little choice, what kind of impact those choices had. When I got stuck in those situations, I learned very quickly, and I give you examples, that instead of resisting and being bitter and say what I'm going to do, I don't like it, and just stamp my feet on the floor, I thought the best way is to change my point of view. And you never know, maybe it works. Like engineering. So I'm an engineer, proud engineer. But believe me, when I was 17, I didn't want to be an engineer. I think some of you have heard that story. I wanted to be an architect. I thought it's cool. You design things, you get awards. Engineering to me was wearing hard hat, going under the car, and I hate cars. Still, I hate cars. I don't even know how to drive. I have lots of accidents with my car. So fixing a car was not something appealing, and that's all that I knew about engineering. And I didn't want to be an engineer. So fate, circumstances, my parents, I don't know. Somebody made that choice. I didn't get the mark to be an architect. So I got into engineering, mechanical engineering. The most fundamental engineering, I'm just bragging about it now. I got to the class. It was class this size. There were 180 students. There were only 5 girls. The rest, there were male students. And I'm from Iran, a system that up to that point, our schools were separated. And I always went to the only girls' schools. So scared. I couldn't even raise my hand. I couldn't even look at anybody's eyes. I couldn't even express an opinion. The first class, I hated it. It was a math class, and I never showed up. I failed all of my courses that year. And I remember this summer, I got to the point and I said, okay, this choice was made for me. My parents were so happy. They had no clue, actually, I failed all the courses. But now I'm at the point that I have to leave university. Maybe I have to give it another chance. Maybe I have to change my point of view. Maybe it works. So I went back, and I'm so glad I did it, because otherwise I wouldn't be here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here talking to female underrepresented talents that engineering can be for everyone. As long as you have that curiosity, you wanted to solve problems, you wanted to make impact, engineering is for you. So I'm glad, actually, that little choice or situation that I had no choice, really by changing my point of view, made my career, made who I am right now. Another example, the first internship I got. So I fell in love with engineering. I loved it. It's so innovative, so much I can do. The first internship job I got, it was in a sort of very fundamental old company in Iran that they made turbines for dams and getting harvesting energy. I got there, my mom pulled so many strings, so I get there. I met with the senior engineer. He looked at me. I said, how old are you? I said, I'm 18, 19. He said, are you an engineer? I said, I'm a student. Okay. Go and sit in the coffee room and do photocopy. So I had 3 months. I sat in the coffee room doing photocopies, and I got bored, really bored. And I thought, okay, if this is an engineering job, I'm not going to come back here. This is not what I want. And then again, the same thing, the same voice that came when I was trying to change my career path, said, okay, give it another chance. Look at it from another lens. So I was doing copy and using the copy machine learning, but at the same time, I thought that what makes me waking up every morning? I love chips. And I hated oily chips. So I thought maybe I design a cooker that can do, and this is about 20 some odd years ago, can do big chips. And when I came to Canada later on, I figured out that Lay's actually had such a patent. So anyway, at that time I didn't know. And I started in my free time when I was not making coffee or tea or copying, I design a cooker, a pressure cooker that can use different type of methods to bake chips. And I loved it. And that showed me that it's not about the firm that I was there, the environment. There are other aspects of engineering that I can contribute to. So by just changing my point of view and not giving up, it made exactly who I am in my current career. So these are all about the little choice, the situation that I got stuck, and somehow I think I came out of them in a good way. Let's talk about wrong choices. Oh boy, I made so many of them. As a teenager, I was one of those kids that I got obsessed with things so quickly, especially about myself. I wanted to be the best kid. I wanted to be the best student. I wanted to shine. I wanted to be perfect. So that quickly affected the whole thing. I became obsessed with studying so much, losing so many opportunities in life, having fun as a kid, which is still I remember, and I wish I could go back and fix that. Unfortunately, you can't. I became so obsessed with my appearances, listened to people that I shouldn't listen. Over 6 months, I lost about 100 pounds. I became anorexic. I almost could die. And I remember one day I was just sitting and thinking, I'm not happy, and this is not what I wanted. Although I started the journey, I thought the only reason that I'm here because I don't want to face my mistake. I made a mistake. I started a path, and I don't want to go back. I wanted to just continue because I think I'm doing good. I'm perfect. And as soon as I realized that if I own up to my mistake, I can always stand up and I can go back and fix it. That's okay. So that was the lesson in life that I learned when I was 16. And it's still till this day, when I fail, actually I put a smile, I stand up and say, that was a good lesson and I can continue. So owning up to your mistake, I think that was one choice, which was a big changer in my life at age 16. But it seems that I forget easily and quickly. When I became the director of a school of engineering, I totally forgot about that incident. Sometimes you forget things so quickly. And instead of work-life balance, it seems that I lost the memo, or I didn't hear the memo. I've heard work-work balance. So it was towards the work, up to the point that 24/7 I was at work, and I had meetings, at least 17 meetings per day. And it got to the point that I got sick, very sick. I got rheumatoid arthritis. It's an autoimmune disease. I'm not sure how much you know about it, that when you're under stress, your immune system attacks your joints. And to the point that I got hospitalized, and I was in a wheelchair for 2 months. I couldn't move. I had so much pain. Still, I'm, battling with it. But I was sitting and think, I did all of this work not to be here. Now I cannot work. For 2 months, I'm just in the hospital trying to take different type of medication, a steroid, and that defeats the whole purpose. So let's just face my mistake. The work-life balance matters. Maybe I have to go back and change my habits. I'm not doing well, and I'm not functioning in the right way. And that also helps me. And still I'm working on that, but really helps me in my journey that I am right now. Now, let's talk about the third types of choices, a scary one, as I said, like the one that I'm doing right now, talking. The impact they had in my life, I learned I have to embrace them. When something you wanted to do and you feel, oh gosh, my stomach churn, or I have butterflies, do it. That's exactly those choices that you wanted to do. Jump into the water. It's cold, I know. But believe me, at the end, regardless of the outcome, you feel so good about yourself. So embrace challenge. That's what I learned. And that's how I thrive. I really go with that. Example is what happened in my research. I graduated from University of Toronto from an amazing lab. I love my supervisor. Still, I'm in contact with him. He taught me a lot about life, actually. But the research was, it's great research, fundamental research, surface science. I'm a surface scientist. I was not a microfluidic person. Learning about interaction between molecules at the nanoscale. Lots of math, lots of interesting fundamental research. When I became faculty member, assistant professor at the School of Engineering 15 years ago, at that time, Government of Canada changed the funding direction from pure fundamental research towards applied research, at least in my field, at least in engineering. And I had no choice to abruptly change the direction of my research. Very challenging, because for those of you who are academia and professor, you know that is suicide. You already built reputation over years, published areas, people, reference your papers, and suddenly you go somewhere new, no idea, you don't know the lingo, and you start talking. It's like, start walking again. And I did it. And I was so excited even to do it, because even when I started engineering, I remember at that time, what excited me is the impact I can make as an engineer, what I can do to help people, to help society. So that came back to me and said, this is the time if I wanted to do something. So I changed the direction of my research. I made it very applied. Not that there is something wrong with being fundamental researcher, no, but that sort of follows what my passion is. So in less than 5 years, we came up with the first 3 inventions in my lab. And these are my pride and joy, my babies. I'm sure you've heard about, or maybe you haven't, the big news that we had when the marijuana became legalized. My lab made technology that the forces or the road safety people can detect from the breath the presence of marijuana and impairment. This technology is right now licensed by a company, local company, and they're making the first breath analyzer for marijuana detection. And I'm very proud of it. Every time I see how they're progressing and their first version, second version coming, it's just my heart melts. The second one is working with kids with diabetes and relationship with obesity and exercise. So one of the issue is that with kids, you wanted to have the sensor mounted to them on them and for months. But these are kids. They wanted to have shower, they want to go swimming. So it has to be something that is very flexible, easy, they don't notice, and not lots of wires around, and also accurate. So we have this wireless sensor that they can put it as a wristband or around their knee or around their waist, and accurately, unlike what is available in the market, can measure this kind of movement, which is not really exercise, compared to this type of movement, which is really exercise. The other one is my water quality monitoring. When I joined UBC Okanagan as a researcher, I learned that in Kelowna, 17 years before that, we had an outbreak of cryptosporidium, which is a parasite. You cannot even kill it with adding chlorine to the water. It has to be UV. So it's very expensive. You need to have a purification plant. So in many areas, remote areas, even if you go hiking, you wanted to detect cryptosporidium. And one is enough to make people like me who has immune system problem to become very ill. So we developed a very nice handheld working with the phone detection of parasites and bacteria in water. So these are examples that it wouldn't happen. These things that I'm so excited about them and my eyes shine every time I talk about them and the impact that I could make without really embracing the challenges and changing the direction of my research. Another example of that kind of choice, which means scary choices, are when I was offered the School of Engineering directorship. At that age, I was in my career, I think it was 7 years in my career, no experience in management, only running my own lab. And they told me that right now you're the most senior person at the School of Engineering. Unfortunately, our previous associate dean passed away, so their role opened up. And because that school is very close to my heart, I was there from its beginning. I said, yes, I wanted to save the school till we figure out what we wanted to do. So I accepted the role, had no clue what I'm getting into, had no understanding what management means. Till that day, it was all about me, Mina. My research, resources for me, the labs, da. When I got to that, right away, I noticed this is not going to work. You're going to work with your colleagues. If you're going to be a manager, you have to be a manager which puts other people's need in front of your own. That was a tough lesson to learn. That was challenge, actually. It's very challenging to put aside what you want and think about what the person there wants and make it happen for that person, empower that person, and get satisfaction from their empowerment and their success. Imagine a person all her life, she's been told, never miss an opportunity. It's all about you. You have to succeed. That's the way it is. Everything has to be perfect. Now you put yourself in shadow and let others shine. All I have to do is prepare the set for them. So that challenge I accepted because I love that school. It's my baby. And to my surprise, the satisfaction I got, it was more than what I could succeed myself. When I saw my colleagues, they cried out of joy because they got the Royal Society Award. It was even better than I got that award. So I learned quickly that this is what I like. This challenge that changing myself, becoming selfless and helping people is actually what I want. And teamwork became a really meaningful word for me. Before that, there was no teamwork. It was me. I'm running, I'm doing, this is me, and that's on. Now I'm enjoying to work with others. I get more satisfaction. And that all of these events, these three choices, no choice, scary choice, wrong choices, led me to what is my desirable choice, the glory of my life. And I'm not saying this because I'm at UVic and I've been hired here. I'm saying this because when the position opened up and I applied for the dean position, that was my dream job. I'm not a leader, still I have a lot to learn, but everything that I learned through my life up to this point, I think prepared me to this job. And what UVic speaks to me, the Faculty of Engineering and Computer Science, is its uniqueness. It's the diversity in terms of the field that is in this faculty, having computer science with engineering, being able to do so many possibilities. Actually, these things spoke to me when I saw the ad and I sort of applied for it. And I felt if I learn something and I still going to learn, maybe I can use my skills and help this faculty, this university to reach to what they want. Already is great, but even being greater. So I see lots of possibilities, and I'm sorry I'm using the building. I'm trying to use this as a PR, to empower and see that what I can do. I'm not a leader, but I like one day to be. I like one day to look at our new building, hopefully very soon, and I hope to have an office there. We are going to give an office to Kevin there, and see that this is what we accomplish. We work together, we empowered each other, and we made it happen. We seized all the possibilities. By the way, as a PR, we are very close to make this building happening. We have the money from the government. You saw the announcement. University is so kind to give us, and we're this much close to raise enough money. So this is another PR I'm trying to do. But what really excites me, this is the desirable choice for my life. Not because coincidentally happened, out of blue, I was lucky happened. I believe all the choices, little small choices that I made in my life made me reach to this point. A person who is very dear to me once said, you know, imagine that every morning you take a scenic route to your work instead of a boring industrial route. What happens? If that scenic route gives you even an iota of happiness, you come to your office, you treat your staff well, you work together, you work with your colleagues, you achieve your goals. And over days, months, and years, you will see how much you achieve. That is small choice. Just taking a scenic route over an industrial route. So imagine all the choices we made in life, small, big, or whatever. Eventually, I got here, and I'd like to share it with you. Now, am I there? No, I still have a lot to do. I wanted to embrace failure. Still, I'm not good at it. When I said I wake up, I put a smile, but it's not really a true smile. Everybody gets hurt. My ego scratches. I like to, instead of really getting hurt and putting a fake smile, really embrace it, really like it, truly. I wanted to practice wabi-sabi. That's the first term actually I've heard a few months ago, which means perfectly imperfect life. Is a Japanese term. Life doesn't have to be perfect. Actually, imperfect is better. But you work with that imperfect and make it the way that you want. As I mentioned, one of my choices, change your point of view and work with it, make the best out of it. I wanted to believe in myself. Still, there are many, many situations that I go there and I feel, oh, I don't belong in here. Why am I invited to this meeting? Why am I part of this group of elite people? Yeah, maybe I'm not there, but I can be. So I have to believe in myself. I wanted to say no. I cannot say no. That's one of my weakness. If you ask me, Mina, let's do something together, I say yes. I cannot ever say no. So I'm learning. I'm putting every morning a word no on my hand. And every time I feel, I look at it and say, oh no, I cannot do it. So these are the things I'm choosing to do. Another one is face my fear. It's one of the other things that, as I mentioned, I got into even close to death. And I didn't want to face my fear and my mistake until that moment. It was a very, very light moment for me. And I wanted to practice more. I don't want to get to the edge that I'm almost dying to get there. I wanted to really face my fear much earlier. And the last one, recently I learned, sometimes you have to let go and move on. If you just linger and just stress and just press on something, it's not good for you. You have to see where to cut your losses and move on. Unfortunately, as in academia, professors, they're not good at it. We like to press on it. We learn to be persistent. That's how the change makers are. You're persistent, but sometimes you have to move on. And that moment is very important because you save a lot of money and energy and time. So now my question to you, what have been your choices? Which one of them being game changers? But more important one, if you could go back, would you choose them again? If I wanted to go back, I would choose all of them because who I am right now, bad or good, exactly collection of the choices that I made. And I wanted to thank you, especially for those who are present in person, 3D, and those who are virtually connected, that you choose to be here and listening to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mina, for that fantastic talk. Very, very inspiring. And I'm sure we'll have a couple questions. We're just waiting for there we go. Just waiting for the screen to come on to see if anyone has put questions in Slido. So while we wait for that, I don't know if anyone here in the auditorium, oh, here we go. Get your questions ready here. We'll be taking questions in person momentarily, but Mina, here's the first question for you. What would you suggest to BPOC women students who are struggling to find their way in sciences and engineering due to the lack of representation? That's from Tina.
Yes, thank you so much, Tina. Actually, I had the same problem. I didn't know what engineering is. What I can suggest to them is that, and this is what I'm trying to work with, all the high school and middle school, school district 61. I had a great meeting with them. we need to have better education for our students. And I call them underrepresented talents. This is a new term I learned today. What I don't want to see, and again, maybe I'm coming too strong, is, oh, sorry, I don't want to see is that we miss even 1% that could become an engineer, and because he or she didn't know that what engineering is, we miss that talent. So I'm offering to our school district 61 to go to 18 school, middle school and high school, and I'm going to talk about engineering. And I'm going to say, what is it about? I'm going to make engineering fair, to talk about engineering is more than just math and science. Since this is something that I was told, math and science, you're good at it, go to engineering. That's not engineering. Engineering is about finding your curiosity and thinking outside the box. If you have that, if you're curious, when you get into the room, you look around and you try to find a problem and solve it, you are by nature an engineer. So the only way we can do it is to educate students, to educate parents, to educate teachers. And that wouldn't happen. That cannot happen overnight. So I'm willing to do everything in my power, at least in Victoria, and go and as much as I can, sort of spread the word about engineering. But I think it has to start from home, has to start from teachers, counselors.
That's great. Thank you. There's two engineers here. I don't know, Kevin, do you want to jump in?
Well, I'd be interested, Mina, and you know, you've just arrived 3 months here. You've had a look at your own faculty itself, and you looked at the makeup of your faculty. And so what are your first impressions, and what are your, I guess, plans? How do you want to work with the university? What can the university do to help, deal with some of these issues as well? Because it's not just about students, right?
Yes. Great point. I knew that you're going to ask that. So let me put the statistics there. The population of our female students in our faculty, engineering, is about 18%. The population of our female faculty members, 11-12%. So in order to do that, we need to have better role models. But in order to have better role models, we have to train more female engineers or underrepresented talents. And we have to make sure that they stay in the profession. And we have to make sure that they become a role model. So it's a very long chain, and we're already way behind it. We have moved along. When I started my engineering degree, as I say, there were 5 of us in 180. We have more, but I think it's still a lot to go. So what my vision is to have much more diverse group, diversity in my faculty members, as well as the staff and the students. And the only way to do it is to bring engineering or fields that they speak to all different talents. Some group of students, they feel that they relate to engineering if it's talk about social problems, impacts. I'm one of those. If I had to go and fix a car, there's nothing wrong with car, I wouldn't go to engineering. I loved it because I thought I can save, planet. That's how it spoke to me. Some students, they love to write software. Then we have to, create that program. So making programs that the students out there, our new generations, they speak to, I think that's the only way we can have. When we have more students coming, underrepresented talents, we train them, they go out, they train others, and the whole cycle starts. So then we would have much more role model.
That's perfect. Thank you. Just to remind you, quick reminder, if you want to join the conversation on Slido, go to the Slido website and type in your question or upvote other questions. Do we have another Slido question ready to go? We do. What is the biggest misconception that young women have about engineering? Mom of a potential engineering student.
So for me, there is one type engineering, is a place that, as I said, you have to be good in science and math. Of course, those are tools to be able to get into engineering. Or it is a male-oriented field, of course, but it's not a very inclusive, or is it scary, or it's very hard field, which it is. But every field is tough. I'm sure that you can talk about every field from its discipline people and ask that. What I want is that to tell you, give it a try. As I say, it's more than just science, math, how hard it is, or it is a very harsh environment. You have to go there. You have to find your own niche there. That's how I did. That's what I said, change your point of view. That's the only way you can see that whether you have that element of ingenuity that I was talking about, curiosity. Because if you don't try, you might be a great engineer and you deprive the world of your talent. So just stick there. Believe me, after the first year, when it passed and you failed some courses, and there's nothing wrong with that, I failed all of them, it will give you different dimension. And just be persistent and see if you find what you're looking for.
Great, thank you. Kevin, would you agree? Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think the point you made about engineering also changing. You know, we've had these traditional fields for so long. And I find when you look at universities that have new programs that deal with social issues, you get equal representation in the courses. And my experience is at Queen's in 2006, we put out a humanitarian engineering program, which was 70% females in the class. At Newcastle, we put on a joint medical engineering program in medical engineering, and the same thing, you know. And I think it is getting more current with today's world and what these big grand challenges are we have to solve as citizens of this planet. And engineering is a great background to do that. It doesn't matter what you look like or where you come from. It's
Better than I could. Yeah. Great.
Great, thank you. Any questions from folks who are in the auditorium today? Just put your hand up and we can come to you. Great, thank you. Right at the back there. We'll be right with you.
Hello, Dr. Hoorfar.
Oh, call me Mina. Everybody calls me Mina.
Hi, Mina. First of all, let me welcome you to the UVic Engineering. I'm an engineering student, so welcome to UVic. And as an immigrant to Canada, it's really nice to see you as a head of engineering department at UVic, a lady from my home country. So it's truly, really amazing. I had a rather long question about the engineering department, but since this is a general audience, so I didn't want to bother everyone. So I'm having a very short question, and it's that. For a third-year PhD student, immigrant to Canada, what's your advice?
Wow, that was a short question. That was a tough question. One of the things that I really like to work in our faculty is not just orienting very well our undergraduate students, master's students, also PhD students. You need to know what your passion is. And I give you a sort of a story. Sorry, I'm a storyteller. When I was doing my PhD, in my third year, I was so tired. I working in the lab, tired. I couldn't stand it anymore. I thought after I finish, I'm going to go to industry. It was December 16th. I remember I got a call from the chair of our department, and he said, I need a favor. And you cannot say no to the chair of your department. I said, sorry, Tony, what do you want? He said, I have a course, dynamics, and I haven't been able to find an instructor for it. I was a PhD student, so they were looking for a sessional. Never TA'd in my life, never done it, but they knew me from, my background and academic records. And I said, Tony, I've never been in front of a class, and I don't think I can teach. I don't have any passion in teaching. He said, you will help me a lot. I have no other option. The term starts in less than a week, and we need someone. And I know only you. Help me. And I say, I failed dynamics twice in my undergrad. I cannot teach dynamics. It's the toughest course for those who are in the audience and are not engineers. It's one of the toughest courses in engineer. He said, please. I said, okay, I will give it a try. So I still remember I took the book and I started reading, and every moment I said, what did I get into? I should have said no, and I written no, but I'm glad I didn't, because that was one of the scary choices in my life, that I embraced the challenge and made what I am right now. I went to the class, and that term I taught the course at the beginning was very rocky. Oh gosh, it was really tough, but I fell in love with teaching. And that's why I decided to become a faculty member. So my advice to you, find your passion. There's not one way. It doesn't fit all. You need to find what drives you. Is it research? Is it teaching? Is it working outside? Is he making a startup, being an entrepreneur? Remember, there is no limit, but find what you like. And you don't need to follow what other people are doing. There's not just one job. So that's what I can tell you.
Great, thanks. Kevin, when you were just starting out in engineering, what was your biggest challenge?
Passing courses. Yeah, I came as a student, first in my family to go to university. So I actually had no idea what university was about. And I just remember failing all of my midterms at Queen's, thinking, oh my God, you know, I was like the smartest kid in my high school, but all of a sudden I'm the stupidest kid at Queen's. But it was just finding that balance, and finding your passion. I absolutely agree. You know, the advice Mina gave you is so critical. At anything in life, if you find your passion, you'll do well. So, yeah.
Yeah, great, thank you. Any other questions from the in-person audience? One right at the back. We've got a couple actually.
Thank you. Thank you, Mina. That was amazing. That was very inspiring. And, you know, being an engineer myself and hearing those stories about failing classes and whatnot, that's what leads into this question that I want to ask you. I know that UVic is currently very academic focused when it comes to admissions. And something that you stressed in your presentation was that balance was key and diversifying academics, community life, social life. That was really stressed when you were presenting. Is there any plans to turn engineering into a broad-based admission or any talks about that?
Very good point, actually. And I wanted, again, I apologize. I hate actually when people talk about the previous institution, but I have to talk about that. We faced the same situation at School of Engineering, UBC Okanagan, and we started broad-based admission because, as I said, similar to the other student, I don't think in any areas, one thing fits the whole thing. And with us, when we did it, we were very successful. Looking at the very diverse group of students who come with different backgrounds and with different skills. I remember actually I reviewed about 100-something applications that they were not maybe even making it because they didn't fit to the academic, from the academic point of view. But the story they wrote, they spoke to me. Some of them actually, they were really fortunate to spend their high school time helping their parents, taking care of their grandparents. I wanted to have that student in my class because that student brought an aspect of teamwork, knowing that how to selflessly help other people. There was another student that, working almost 20 hours per week because he couldn't support, the school that he was going to. I wanted to have that kid in my school, in my class, because that kid will come with another background that what is out there in the world. So what I think, I leave it to our president to talk about it. It's way above my pay grade, but I think we need to do that. We need very diverse group of students here. Not that we want the ones that are high achievers, which we want them all, but we want different types of skills. And that's how EDI and inclusivity and the success is going to be in any field. It's not just engineering. So Kevin?
Well, I think it's not just engineering, right? It's access to education is an absolute critical thing for all Canadians, for all British Columbians, for the world, in fact. And, universities often look at high admission cutoffs as a badge of honor. We need to absolutely dispel that. We need to look at other ways of getting students into the system, both when they graduate from high school. We're over 90% of our students are direct from high school. If you look at other countries, for example, where I've just come from in Australia, 60% of the students where I was at Newcastle of 50,000 students were actually mature students. Only 40% came from high school directly. And I think we have to look at admission in a different way, through a different lens, or look at enabling pathways. And I'm actually going to turn the sort of symposium around a little bit because I'm going to ask the MC. In fine arts, for example, you don't just look at cutoff marks. There's all kinds of things that go into the admission of a student. And I think we could learn a lot from from some of those processes in our engineering and science programs. So,
Oh, great.
Alana.
Well, thank you very much for acknowledging that. That's absolutely true. We look at the whole package and other life experience and accomplishments, and we've had great success with that. We've had some amazing students who perhaps couldn't have joined us otherwise come to UVic and really excel. So I would advocate for open-mindedness in terms of admissions, absolutely. I think we have time for one more question on Slido. Let's take a look. Sally writes, you said a number of times that you're not yet a leader. How will you know when you have achieved that goal? What type of a leader do you aspire to be?
Again, I told a story. The same person that I said told me about the scenic road mentioned that the leader is like a bus driver. You go and get a bus, you fill the bus with right people and put them in right seats, and then ask them where they wanted to go and find collectively, and you take them there. So it took me long to understand what that means. I don't understand these sort of things. I have not much good in EQ thing, my EQ is really low. But then I tried and I figured out what it means. It means that whatever vision I have, doesn't matter. The whole system, my whole faculty, they have to have that vision. And we have to together bring that vision up, not just one person. I'm not there yet. So I have goals, I have visions, but I need to listen to the vision of my faculty. And we all have to reach to that vision, 1, 2, 3, whatever, and goals, and we make that happen. So that's why when I get there is when we all collectively know one place we wanted to go and we get there. And I will drive them there. Of course, I'm not a good driver, but yes, I will take them there.
Last word to you, Kevin. How would you define a good leader?
I think for me, you know you're a leader when you look around you and everybody is successful and you don't want to take credit for it. This is part of your job, right? Is to enable and empower everybody that you're associated with. I think that's when you know that, hey, you're showing leadership. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Before I hand it back to you, Kevin, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us in person and virtually. And of course, a big, big thank you to Mina.
Thank you so much, Alana. Thank you so much, Kevin, for the opportunity. Thank you all.
Yeah. So absolutely, thanks to everybody online and in person here today for your questions and listening. Big thanks to Mina, the inaugural game changer, and thanks for letting us into your life. I think that's been really a fantastic look into who you are and why you're here and what you will accomplish. Alana, thanks so much. Great, fantastic job emceeing, and thanks for doing that. And I just really want to thank everybody that worked on this event because wow, when a president says, hey, I want to have a speaker series and everybody goes into play and does these things, it's incredible to see it happen. And I can just sit back and watch it happen. But actually there's been so much work to get this series off the ground. And I just want to thank everybody for doing that. And if you're watching or you're in the audience and you actually have any comments about the Game Changers event tonight, there's a couple of Slido questions you could sort of answer and say what you thought about the event so that the next one we can kind of tweak it or do things. So thanks everybody for attending and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks.